I hope all you lovely people had a nice snack break there, and I guess we'll just dive on into Aristotle's account of wisdom and phronesis. So now just we can recall, we've seen Aristotle's account of the three excellences for scientific knowledge. Again, scientific knowledge is the necessary, universal, and eternal, and those intellectual excellences are, again, the intellectual accomplishment of Sophia, the systematic knowledge of episteme, and the intelligence of nous. But wisdom, wisdom, the wisdom of phronesis is different because wisdom is practical. Wisdom is about action. The scientific, those scientific excellences there, are again about contemplation, about theory, about thinking about abstract things, just coming to know things just to know them. Knowledge for knowledge's sake. But the wisdom of phronesis isn't knowledge for knowledge's sake. It's knowledge so you can act well, live well, and so on. And so so then we want to talk about excellences associated with action, intellectual excellences associated with that. So that brings us then to the calculative or deliberative knowledge about the contingent, particular, and temporal. Because now here, the calculative or deliberative knowledge is about action. Remember, I said this is about being able to do the right action given a particular situation. And now we have seen that one type of these excellences does concern the technical expertise of techne. But again, technical expertise technical expertise, this is about using action to produce something. Again, like a bridge or a chair or music or a performance, whatever. But that action of techne, of technical expertise, is not wisdom. That's not phronesis either, because wisdom is about the doing well. It's not about a final product that's good or bad. It's about doing, about acting well, about making the action itself conform to excellence. Because again, we want the action or the activity of life to conform to excellence, which will then give us, happiness or live well. So again, wisdom is concerned about how our actions ought to conform to the excellences of, character, courage, all those other things. So again, one last time, wisdom of phronesis is about action, but it's about the action of doing well, living well, the activity of happiness, of eudaimonia, leading a flourishing life. That is what wisdom is about. And so again, as I've said now, wisdom of phronesis is about being able to choose the correct action in a given situation. Again, the wisdom of phronesis is the excellence of being able to choose the correct action in a given situation. But I should also add, it's more than just about choosing the correct action, says Aristotle. Here he introduces something else. Aristotle says that the wisdom of phronesis is also about having the right desire for the right ends. And so we go, okay, let's start unpacking all of this. It's a pretty interesting little idea because we see again that wisdom is an excellence concerning deliberate action. And Aristotle has this very cute idea. I like this, where Aristotle says the beginning of action is the end of action. The beginning of action is the end of action. And you're like, what now? That's cute. The beginning of action is the end of action? What do you mean? Now, what Aristotle is meaning here is that action begins. Here, we can throw that up there. Here, action begins with the desire for something. That's something. So let's just call that thing A. Now, A is the end or goal of the action. The A is the thing you want or desire. So the beginning of an action is in desire there. And so that's then how we can see that the beginning is also the end, because the beginning is the desire for something, but that desire, that's the end, because once you have it, bingo. So that's kind of cute. Anyhow, so since desire is the beginning of action, of deliberate action, desire is also the beginning of wisdom, because wisdom will help ensure that you actually desire the right things. For example, let's make this kind of a little more concrete now. So suppose you are asked to present something in front of the entire class. And for most of y'all, that's probably kind of scary, but I hope you would desire or want to do the courageous thing. So now your response to that situation would begin with what it is you actually desire. Now, Aristotle would say that wisdom would probably say that, what wisdom would say is that you should desire to do the presentation well, maybe to get an A on the presentation, get a good grade, do a good presentation for sure. Wisdom, that's the right desire here, right, is to do well. The wrong desire would be to do terrible work and fail, right? That's not wise. And so that makes sense. So again, but notice with the presentation, the end is the beginning. The end is you want to do well. And that's your starting point is, okay, I want to do well on this. So how are we going to make that happen? And so that's what you have to figure out, right? It's like, okay, you have a desire, you want to do well in the presentation. And so your wisdom says, good, that's a good desire to have, to do well. That sounds excellent. But how do we achieve that end? How do we achieve your desire to do a good presentation? Here's where Aristotle has this long discussion. This is, if you're curious, this is in chapter 9 of book 6 there of the Nicomachean Ethics. Aristotle here talks about excellence in deliberation. Now, excellence in deliberation concerns correctly identifying the right means to an end. Excellence in deliberation concerning the right means to an end. And so wisdom, phronesis, deliberates well. Here we can see it. So what we do is when you're deliberating well, you're identifying a chain of actions that can be done to achieve that final end of A, the thing you desire. So we have B leads to A, C leads to B, and so on, until the idea is we reach some N there, where N is something that perception realizes that you can actually do right here and now, right? Because that would kickstart the chain reaction, right? You do N, that leads to M, leads to L, so on. These chains of actions you're going to start doing that ultimately will achieve the desire or whatever it is you wanted, that A at the beginning there. Now, back to the example of giving that presentation in front of class. In that case, excellence in deliberation wants to help, right? Your wisdom's like, okay, well, let's figure out how we can do the courageous thing here to, do the courageous thing of giving a good presentation in front of the class. And so, for instance, a wise person would realize we're not going to do all that by plagiarizing a speech from Michelle Obama. That's not, look, Michelle Obama given some great speeches, but that is not wise to plagiarize one of hers, because plagiarizing a speech is hardly the courageous thing to do. Even if the presentation goes great, because your professor hasn't ever heard of a Michelle Obama speeches, that's still not the courageous thing to do. Plagiarizing. So instead, I'm sure wisdom would suggest, no. The deliberation here is, let's do some research on the topic. Let's practice that speech in front of your friends and all sorts of other things that will build up a good speech, in the contents, but also allow you to be courageous when you get up in front of the class and deliver it, to deliver that good presentation in front of the class. And so, by the way, here's a little side note that's kind of cute and cool, is that something interesting happens when you are good at deliberating, when you have excellence in deliberation. As Aristotle notes that actually we need to go back to that excellence of intelligence, that excellence of nous. That's, he says, is actually needed for good deliberation. Intelligence of nous is needed because, recall that the intelligence of nous involves the ability to look at particular things and draw out those generalizations about them. And so now when the intelligence of nous works with wisdom, when nous works with, phronesis, to get all the Greek in there, intelligence, that nous analyzes the particulars of your situation and uses that to make generalizations in the form of, advice, prescriptive advice about what you should be doing, what actions you should be performing in this situation. So when it comes to that presentation in front of the class, for instance, wisdom would use nous, would use intelligence to look at the particulars of the situation. Maybe the topic is tough. Okay, so wisdom's like, okay, we're gonna have to do a little more research here. But your classmates are kind and supportive. So that's going to beef you up, right? You're going to be like, okay, they don't hate me. They're nice. My classmates are cool. And that will help you, be able to do the courageous thing. And maybe the professors, and maybe you got lucky and the professor's an easy grader, and that's going to beef up your confidence as well, so you can do the courageous. But again, nous is going to look at all these particular things, say, hey, wisdom, look at that. So now we can put this together for how we can do the courageous thing and give a good presentation in front of the class. And that's what then the intelligence of nous will do. It'll look at those particulars and help wisdom, achieve that excellence in deliberation and discovering that chain of actions that needs to be done in order to achieve the desire of being courageous and delivering a good presentation, say. And so in any case, as we see there, wise deliberation ends once it's formulated the right path from where you are here and now. And that right end, again, is set by your correct desires. And again, wisdom has determined that you have the right desire there for A, and it determines that you have the right end. That is, so A is something good that you should want. Again, doing well in a presentation, that's a pretty good thing. Being courageous, that's a good thing. And so wisdom's helped you identify that right desire there. And then we go back there, then wisdom will use nous and excellence of deliberation to determine the right path. So again, we have right desire, right end, right path to achieve all that. And then after all that, we can see here on the picture, wisdom is pretty straightforward. Wisdom gives you the correct prescription. That is, namely, wisdom says that you should choose to do N. And wisdom then triggers the excellences of character that you need, your dispositions and habits, to then actually do N. So that's the idea. So we, again, with back to your presentation, that example there, right? You desire the right thing, to be courageous and deliver a good presentation. Your wisdom then further helps you by determining the right path. You're not going to plagiarize. You're going to do the work and practice and all the rest of it to give that good presentation and be courageous in front of your class. And so now the deliberation has ended with what you need to do. It's created the plan that's needed. But you still need wisdom, right? Because I guarantee, especially when I was your age, oh man, the plan would usually come together pretty quickly. But then I want to hang out with my friends. I want to have a little fun. I don't want to work on practicing this speech. I want to have fun. And so again, what wisdom is going to help us do is deal with all those temptations to be lazy. It's going to say, no, we got to choose this and we got to do it. We actually have to act, carry out the plan. So yeah, wisdom is going to help with all of that. It's going to give us the right desire. It's going to help us assemble the right plan. And wisdom's then going to help us actually choose it and actually do it. We need wisdom for all of that. And so this is if you look at all those steps there, that is essentially the process that the wisdom of Phronesis is supposed to help you execute. Again, it's giving you the right desires coupled with the right actions needed to actually achieve those desires. And it's, and what's kind of neat here is that Aristotle says that phronesis of wisdom actually can be subdivided into different areas of life. This is kind of cool because he says phronesis can apply to the state, the household, and the individual. And so, when we're looking at the individual, the intellectual excellence just involving the individual, that's just plain old vanilla wisdom there. But Aristotle says, it's not just about wisdom for yourself. There's also these other kinds of wisdoms as well. So we have the wisdom of phronesis applied to the household, and that gives us the excellence of household management, or oikonomika. Fun fact for you all, oikonomika, I hope oikonomika is, some of you might be hearing, there's a word there that you all probably know, economics. That's where we get the word economics from. It begins in the ancient Greek with household management, because household management is about like educating your children, but also how do you manage your household's finances? So oikonomika, the excellences of running a household, educating your children, managing household finances, and so on. And then we can also apply the wisdom of phronesis to the state. And here we get the excellence of political expertise, or politicae. Politicae is the excellence concerning politics and the running of government. And I won't go into the details here, but Aristotle breaks this political expertise down. Wow, and even more excellences, because we'll see he goes in, well, we won't see it, but I'll talk about it anyway. So going back to politicae, there's an excellence for designing a constitution. There's an excellence about making laws and policy. So there you have the excellence of the politicians. And there's an excellence about criminal justice. So that's the excellence that judges, trial lawyers, and juries need to have. In any case, what we just see going on here is that Aristotle thinks that, yes, we can deliberate about living well and leading a flourishing life. And then, yes, you can care. It's fine to care about your individual happiness there, right? About living well, doing well. And that's the wisdom of the individual. But he says we also should care about our families, our households. And so we have an excellence about how to manage a family, a household. And then also we should care about the happiness of our country, of our fellow citizens. And that gives us then the wisdom of phronesis of politics. So again, we have all these different excellences associated with phronesis that Aristotle sees there. So it's not just about living a happy life. It's about also being part of a happy family, a happy household, and a part of a happy nation, a flourishing family, and of course, your own flourishing life. Ooh, I think it's time for another break. That's a lot there. Woo, a lot to process. A lot of cool excellences of phronesis there. I mean, what it means to live well, executing a plan, carrying it through. Oh, that's cool stuff. Okay, well, let's take another break, and then we'll finish up this module on the excellences of intellect. I'll see you back here in a moment.